So it's a little after 10, so let's get this meeting officially started. Call to order. Robin, I see you're on the screen today. All right, so we got Tess gonna jump in and do the roll call for us.
John Daughtery,
Here.
Matt Montgomery,
Here.
Holly Holland, Micah Drake,
Here.
Mosley,
Here.
Robin Richmond,
Here.
Stacy May,
Here.
Wanda Thacker,
Here.
Anna Gregory,
Here.
Jeremy Hurd,
Here.
Heather Moore,
Here.
Rachel Adams, here, Todd Blanton, and then Jennifer Hayes, here.
Physically, in the flesh.
Yes.
So we had a quorum with 3. And Dolly may jump in. I hadn't heard about John, but she may jump in. Oh, shoot. So our first action item is approval of the minutes from our May 7th meeting, and it came with a packet, and those are always, I mean, just basically what we did. Looking for any discussion. If not, we'll look for a motion to approve those minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit later. I will make a motion to approve. I will say that in like 2B, we do say that we're going to add the date payment received from the state so that we've got help in clarifying the timeline. I just want to be really specific that we've aligned that anything longer than 7 days we're going to have on this report. So it's not documented here, but maybe that's something that we want to lock in the minutes for next time, just so it's on the record. I know we've talked about it, but I'd like it to be on the record. But I will make a motion to approve the minutes as is.
Thank you, Matt. But yes, we definitely want to make sure that's on record. And then Micah, you are our forum, so we're looking for a second for you or discussion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Now we're into the meat of this meeting, I believe, other than the cool stuff at the end, is our finance reports from May. And I know that communication has happened between the agenda outreach, and thank you, Matt, for making that the comments and making some stuff happen here. So finance reports for May and June, turn it over to Todd.
Yes, sir. So, at the end of May, we had been fully expended on, 77% expended on our overall budget. That was compared to 75% in the prior year. Our admin costs had come out to 90% compared to 70% in the prior year. Our adult expenditures were 86% expended compared to 53% in the prior year. Dislocated worker program was 56% expended compared to 58% in the prior year. Our youth program was 74% expended, and that was compared to 72% in the prior year. And then to meet our 20% work experience requirement, we had spent the total on that grant that expired June 30th, the $165,000 and some change there. As far as current DSP invoices were concerned, at the end of May, we were at, the April Equus invoice was received on the 12th. We did have a revision on the 13th and then found a further need for a revision on the 27th. That drawdown was submitted on the 4th of June. And then they had clarifying questions about just, there was a rent payment that said like March on it, but it didn't say like 2025. So they wanted to clarify the correct year. And then we made the adjustments to meet some new DOL requirements on the 6th. They also sent us back that. So what we normally do is whenever we submit these drawdowns, alongside it, there's a detail page showing all 600 different, line items for that make up that drawdown. And so on the left-hand column, it shows this, it'll show the grant number, and then it'll show, you know, is a dislocated worker program, dislocated worker admin. Well, what they wanted us to make a change for is if we were using a dislocated worker grant, but we had transferred it to be adult program, they still want to show that dislocated worker grant number, but instead, I had been showing that it was adult program. They want that adult program to say, transferred from dislocated worker to adult. That's just a distinction they wanted to make on there that they hadn't had required before. So we adjusted that, and then, the state finally, approved the draw on the 12th, and then, it was paid on the 17th. We were, so that was the April one. And then May.
Before you go too far there, did you get any sense that they were going to be pushing back on these transfers in the future, or they're just trying to document them better?
Right, that was just a documentation thing. I do
Okay.
think they'll probably justification in the future. And that does, and we'll see that on this next one with May, is that they are requiring a third item with all these drawdowns, which is part of the Doge Defend the Spend, kind of outreach that they're doing. And so, it's called the WIOA grant cost categories page. And so, you know, we submit this big line, this big detail page with all the items. Brenda Travis at the state, she'll always, you know, turn that into a pivot table, and it'll show how much is being charged to each grant, and she can break it down by category. But this cost categories page makes it even smaller. They've got like 12 categories. And so that's a separate page that I guess the DOL wants, to have documented. So that for this May drawdown, they required that, and for the June one, they required that as well. And so it gives you give them the same numbers, but it makes it even, more concentrated to like 12 different categories, as opposed to, you know, our county books will generate 30, you know, so.
Yeah, no, I know in the past we had trouble getting, approval at the state level to move things from one account to the other. So I think this is just interesting that well, I guess it sounds like they're being proactive just to be ready to defend any of the charges from to the federal government because of Doge. So I know you guys are watching that on top of that. I know we've been really nervous that, big areas were going to get cut here, but yeah, it's just interesting to hear. No, thank you.
So just to add to that, coming from the state and having worked, as the overseer of the transfer of funds from dislocated worker to adult, I can tell you that there is more emphasis put on that from U.S. Department of Labor. In writing the National Dislocated Worker Grant, one of the things that had to be defended is why does your local area not have dislocated worker funds to serve these people, and why are you writing the National Dislocated Worker Grant? So there is a lot more emphasis put on those transfers, and they are watching those, because although the law does allow for 100% to be transferred from dislocated worker to adult and vice versa, just because you can doesn't mean you should. So in the coming, with those and with the justification, there is a lot more emphasis being put on those transfers, and they are starting. Not necessarily in Kentucky, but my colleagues in the other states, they are starting to kick back and look at those transfers and actually deny those and write the states up as a monitoring finding for those transfers.
So that means
Yeah.
we need to be.
I don't know what that would do to us, right? In terms of, does that adjust? I mean, do we need to anticipate that and try to work with the idea that we wouldn't be able to transfer? It feels like we would serve a lot less people by doing so, but I don't necessarily want to get a finding because we're doing something that we've always been able to do.
I don't think that we'll serve less. We just have to serve dislocated workers. Adults are the easy picking. I mean, it's an easy enrollment, right? And all that. Dislocated workers sometimes it's more paperwork, right? So it's not that we're gonna serve less because of that. We just have to refocus on our dislocated workers instead of just focused on adult.
Okay. So I'm sure you've got it, but just from my understanding, I mean, so it sounds like, as we target different groups, this will be an area that you anticipate growing so that we need less of a transfer, that we're consuming the dislocated worker funds versus the, transferring over to adult. All right. No, that's helpful to understand. Thank you.
Just kind of get a fast, high level understanding. Do we have a population of dislocated workers annually that's
Yeah,
available
yeah.
and seeking? That's the problem, and seeking.
Yeah.
Okay. We're not gonna be looking for these people. That's why I was thinking we might have to go out and beat the bushes to find these people.
No, I think the trend that you have to look at is you have to look at your area of, you don't want to transfer a lot of your dislocated worker money to adult. And then you have mass layoffs, and then you're having to justify why did you have mass layoffs in your area? And you have no dislocated worker money. It's the same as I say, because I'm from Eastern Kentucky, we're the most economically depressed area in the state. Yet we do testimony with how much money we get and how great that we are, and then we write grants because we're the most economically depressed area. You can't have it both ways.
Right.
Because somebody eventually is gonna say, what is going on here? So in this area, for bluegrass, you can't have a lot of dislocated workers or mass layoff companies and then say we don't have dislocated worker monies when it's allocated to that, even though the law allows for transfers.
I want to think in the month of June, I didn't get the breakdown for July, but in the month of June, there was 237 of the 300 and something referrals that we had that were dislocated workers.
Okay. So.
So they're there.
I just wanna make sure we're not having.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't know what the unemployment rate was. Sorry if I'm interrupted, I can't hear, but yeah, if that was like, I was afraid we were going to have enough either. So that's good to hear that it's just more of a refocus than anything else.
Then we wanna be cautious not be holding the bag at the end of the time.
Correct.
Mhm.
That's good information.
Thank you.
Shall I continue?
Please.
So then for our May Equus invoice, we did have that one on, June the 18th. We got that one built and created on July the 2nd. I wound up missing that next week with the baby, which was fun, but then, we put in this new cost categories page. I filled that out in that week, that I returned on the 18th. So in my office, we've got, Jacqueline, Vaught, that's our controller. She always, whenever I get these things ready, I submit it to her to just let her pour over it, and then, and it's usually either her or Michael, and this one, I gave it to her, and she submitted back to me that day, and I was able to send it back in. The state didn't have any questions about it. And here's the thing about this cost categories page. I have actually received a few like apologies, like, and thank you for being like patient with us as we work through these new changes, like from Kristen Hundley over there and Brenda Travis. Kristen Hundley was the one that, in their finance department over there that is kind of in charge of this cost categories page. And whenever she wanted me to fill that out, like there's not like clear guidance on where everything fits into their 12 categories. But like I sent what I had and told her like I did this using like my best judgment, deciding how these things should go. And she said that that's perfect. That's how, that's how I would have you do it. So like it was contractual, most Equus things are under contractual, and that sort of thing. But, I'm just telling you that to say that like, it seems to me like they are kind of on edge about it too, just trying to work through it, and make it as seamless as possible. But they've been apologetic to me personally about, just working through these changes. So that's interesting. To me, that's interesting. Maybe not to you guys, but they're trying to work it out. But anyways, this May Equus invoice doesn't say on this one, but that was paid out the same day we paid out the June one on the 29th. You'll see that one on the June report.
What do you mean there's, the drawdown in May was July 18th, 22?
Yes, yeah, July 18th, we got the drawdown submitted. They approved it on the, let's see, that was approved on the 21st, right? And then, where is it?
29.
Yeah.
I was looking at, you know, Matt's gonna look at this too, but if the May time period, 6/18 to 7/29, actually.
And it got sent out on the 29th. And so,
That's just a long period of time. That's what, you know, Matt has brought to our attention many times. That's still within the agreement though, right?
Mhm,
The time
it is.
With the pretty, you know, decent amount of time.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, so first, congratulations on a baby. Let's just pause there and say that. But the idea then of what I'm observing, I mean, the state did have some challenges there, I guess, as they're pushing back, and we see like in April, that invoice, what is that, 19, that's 36 days. May was 41 days, but it looks like, I mean, like the drawdown only took 9 days from the time the invoice was received. And if you guys pay in your typical 4 to 5 days, then that's like in 2 weeks. So it sounds like things are headed in a good direction. But we just want to stay on top of those, right? We committed to doing that, and we want to make sure it's timely. I think Jennifer, you had said you start getting hounded by your folks at about 45 days, and it doesn't sound like we hit any of those. We right? Is that correct?
Yeah, we're good. Really, after 60 days is when they start putting me like on a weekly call. So if we can stay under like 50, we will be good.
Okay.
And I haven't been on any of those calls anytime lately, so.
I like having this information down here as we're seeing that was a timeline is established and we can see, you know, and all the activities, you know. And especially with the extra stuff that you're having to do as well.
And so I do need to add that the exact date that it does get sent to us, because it was like a day or two after we got it approved there, and then we had a weekend, and then it got issued, whenever Michael submits, the receivable or the payment out, it takes a day for it to go through the banks and all that, so I can add that a little bit, but my process at this point is as soon as I've got our books totally closed out in the month at the ad, and then as soon as we get this invoice from Equus that's right, I'm gonna drop everything I've got and get that in, like, right, if I've got other things I've gotta do, like, that day, it's gonna get out. Like, that's what me and Michael have discussed, and wanna tighten these up, and that would be the way to do it.
It sounds very in compliance with all agreements, but
So this doesn't.
just for us, you know, I like to see this, so when you see the process, because, you know, we're having to explain to the board, the whole board,
Yeah.
and I try to make it
Yeah.
simple.
Make it easy. Absolutely.
Appreciate that.
So, shall we move to the June report and discuss the balances and all that, or?
And this one finishes out the fiscal year, right? I mean, you've got, it looks like, right? I mean, the only thing it doesn't look like it's been paid for the final, but as you talk about this is finishing us out for the fiscal year, correct?
Correct, and I think the only thing that's still kind of pending to get added to the June books is, I believe that Equus might have, like a closeout, invoice to send to us here next little bit. I think that usually comes maybe by September or something like that usually.
It depends, sometimes we have more than one,
Yeah.
like, for example, we'll have one this month just for a little bit of funding, and that's just, for like any payments that were paid in like, for last program year, like vouchers that were invoiced late or whatever. And then in the month of September, we usually do the very final one, and that's for performance, like April through June quality performance. So usually there's a couple closeouts, and they're both very small, typically.
usually like $10,000 or something total, so. It's not gonna really change the numbers here, but, at the end of June, we were at 80%, 86% expended on our overall budget, and we were at 88% in the prior year at the same time. We did spend 100% of our admin costs, compared to 78% in the prior year. Our adult expenditures were 95% expended compared to 53% the prior year. Dislocated worker program expenses were 65% compared to the 68% in the prior year. And then our youth expenditures were 82% compared to 80% in the prior year. And then once again, what we've met the work experience for the grant 274YT24, which expires June 30th, we had covered that work experience of $165,000.
Right. And for the areas, just to confirm, the areas that we didn't get through to 100%, I mean, that all carried over fine.
Yes. Yes, none of these, anywhere that we did not spend all our funds, all of that will carry over. Yes.
So overall, we had, what, 14%
Yes.
carry over?
Yes. So if we, turn on through here, we've got, you can just see, you know, where we are, all the details on the budget, how we work, year to date versus the balance, and then, you can go through all the programs, and then the last page, that's where our grant balances stood at the end of June. And on the left-hand side, it tells you what the grant number is, what type it is, and then the second column tells you whenever it expires. And then on the far right-hand side, it shows you the balance that's left. And so none of these grants that we have remaining, expire, June 30th of 2025. All of them are 2026 or later. And I also want to add that we did receive our NFA for the youth grant for this upcoming year. And we did receive $123,000 more than we had the prior year. So the discussions that we had about, you know, what's the funding gonna be, you know, is it gonna, they can't give us less than 90% of what we had the last year. That's what we're going to. The youth grant, we were, yeah, that's.
So for 65 last time, now we're at close to 300.
Let me pull this up, because I've got the exact. So the youth grant that we received, which runs from April to the next June, the total amount was $1,128,093.52. And that was $123,000 more than we received for this, for the FY25.
Really?
So.
That's for the youth work experience and youth programs, right?
It's for the youth program, yeah.
Yeah.
So then we have to take 20% of that total has to be
Work-
expended
Yeah.
for work experience.
And there's such
Yep.
in school or out of school youth, right?
Mhm. Yep.
At 18 or 16, 24,
Mhm.
yeah. That's good. Yeah, but that enlightens me and Jennifer to do some business
Mhm.
next year.
That's when we have more, I think, more youth money now than we've ever had between the additional funds and the putting young Kentuckians first and all that stuff. So,
As far as June 2026?
yeah,
The one that we're operating on right now, so we have $293,000 on this grant where that expires June 30th, 2026. Actually, the grant that I was just telling you about is 274YT26. That one is not on this report. So that you'll see that one
Now,
on
if
the
it
next one.
runs, then we have, because I'm just thinking that, I'm being very personal right now.
Yeah.
Because the program that the Career Center sponsored, and had some
Mhm.
people in there. We anticipate to have that like as much as possible through the Career Center, but that timeframe starts June the 8th and ends in July, you know, so this is gonna span the expiration time of that. How would that-
We'll always have funding for it.
Okay.
yeah,
We'll always have funding for it.
Yeah, because that expenditures would not actually start happening till the third week of June. And then we could go on through August as far as your, you know, the expenditures on that.
Yeah, that's no problem.
mhm.
we just break it out into each program year. So anything that was, invested in program year ending June 30 would go on one invoice and all on another invoice. There's no issue with that.
I'm just excited we get that much more money to use that deal.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
We work with, so we're waiting on the PY adult, PY, dislocated worker grants to show up. Those could show up any day now, really. I think those usually do show up around August, so, that's our first round. And, if anybody has any questions for me, about anything else, we do have the Quest grant, on this grant balances report at the very bottom. We've got 140,000 left on that. Yeah, just let me know.
Well, here's a question, the full board meeting will be, basically 4 weeks from now, right?
So that's the joint meeting.
And you're waiting on some funding to actually hit. And you said August is, will you anticipate that you'll have all that before our meeting? Or not?
I think we probably will. I mean, I don't know, but I think we would.
I can reach out.
The youth grant came to us, in January.
I just mean,
And that's an April grant, it starts April, and we got the NFA, in July, so.
I can reach out to Michelle.
These, the adult and dislocated worker grants, that one actually starts July 1st, so, what are we? 45 days removed from that, so, maybe it takes them 2 months to do it, get it to us.
it just be, a clean statement at our next meeting to be able to say, yes, this is what we're at.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you know exact numbers, but it is, right?
That's it. They gave us the planning numbers and the youth grant was on track with it, but,
Yeah.
I do kind of feel like I'm just kind of waiting to see,
Matt, you got any, more requests, comments?
No, I mean, I appreciate it. Looks like, the comparing to this year to last year isn't completely, as I'm looking at that, but no, I think everything looks good. I will make a motion to approve the reports then.
Thank you. Micah, do you have any discussion?
I know, that's Matt's area, so I'll trust him in that, so I will second the motion though.
Yeah, we all trust Matt in that. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mike. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
And thank you, Colin, for that, very detailed information provided.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now we've got our one person to represent two different things, right? And she's in person. Jennifer, tell us all the good news.
In the packet, you'll see the June 2025 customer report that I send to Tiff each month. And June is always a good one because we're always summing up some of the program year and wrapping up the program year. And so at the top, you'll see just some of the initiatives that we highlighted. And some of those were that we did successfully complete 2 paid internships with the Harrisburg Water Treatment Plant. And that came about, and you're gonna see and hear more about different counties in the upcoming months as well, because all of the water treatment plants tell us that their population is aging out for retirement. So we have several counties that are interested. We're working on an initiative right now with Clark County, who say that they need participants. So we're gonna have some more paid internships with the water treatments plans. And then next was Amtech. So we did start 10 participants with the Amtech Quick Start in June. That is a program that we generally try to work with every year and plan to do so each year. So we budget accordingly for that. One of the success stories at the end of the packet is actually for one of the participants that completed the Amtech program, Dylan Hunt. So he did graduate successfully and has now moved on to his first assignment in South Carolina. So we did get some really big wins out of that Quick Start program. We also have partnered with BCTC for different programs. we put 11 participants through a welding helper, program, during the month of June. We had successfully previously completed a nurse aid program for Lincoln and Garrett. We started our second CDL cohort in Estill County this week, for 3 participants. And so that means that BCTC is on site today in Estill County, doing CDL training. So, BCTC's been a wonderful partner over, the years, but specifically over the last program year. And I think that came about because Tiff's vision and my vision both is that we want to make an impact in every single county with small cohorts. And so we're really just calling up BCPC and saying, can you bring nurse aid training to this county? Can you bring CDL training to that county? And they're pretty much nodding and making it happen no matter what we ask of them. Because last program year, I heard the board say, make an impact in Nicholas County, make an impact in Harrison County. So we were really trying to be intentional. And I can tell you that we have in the works right now for a training provider to go on site in Nicholas County over the next month and train up 5 of the road department crews to get Class A CDLs. So we're listening to the board when they say, what are you doing in this county or what are you doing in that county? Because our goal is to serve all 17. And we always have, but those rural counties are just hard to make an impact in. You might get one person for CDL here and there, but we're trying to really strategically make a bigger impact. We ended the program year with 150 total enrollments, with 57 priority rate. So we have to end with at least 51 priority rate for adults. So we did fine on that. And then our putting in Kentuckians first, we ended with 128. So our enrollment number totals had drastically increased from last program year. So our spending was better and our enrollments were better from the previous program year. I listed all of the outreach, and in this outreach section every month, you all, this is just like specific meetings and specific places that we go to, but it's not all inclusive. It's just some of the highlights that we put, because there's other meetings that happen, like on the business service section. I always list the employers that they talk to or meet with. So we're pretty much all over the 17 counties every single month. We do workshops every single week virtually. We are in the high schools for putting young Kentuckians first. We're at job fairs and resource fairs. And then the last pages, I put extra success stories in to spend the program year in month, because I know Tiff sends some of those to the OL. So that pretty much is our report. I'll be happy to answer any questions, or talk a little bit more about anything that you all would like. And then if you don't have anything, I'm gonna review Todd's report also.
Enjoying that
Dylan.
picture of Dylan there.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was part of it. Cool. Any questions about that report? Because she's gonna take care of Todd's report as well, she stated. I just love these success stories for all the different ones.
Yeah, same. I really appreciate these success stories. It brings the numbers out on why we're doing what we're doing. So thank you.
Yeah, I like it too, and I always say, like, we push numbers to our staff, and, cause numbers are important, that is important, but I always say, like, behind every one of these numbers, there's a real person and a real home with a real family, and you're making a difference. And so if you train up 5 guys in Nicholas County and they're making $15 an hour and they get bumped up to $17 an hour, you've impacted their whole family.
Absolutely.
And so, we enrolled 150 WIO participants in the month or in the program year last year. And that's 150 people that, we've truly impacted their lives. And I want to help everybody. Kevin always will say, like, you can't help everybody. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna die trying to, because no matter what meeting I go into, for example, yesterday we were at the Army Depot with a job fair. And we pretty much harassed everybody that walked by the table. Like, we were like, come here, have we talked to you? Have we talked to you? So we just really like the work that we do and we like making a difference. Okay, on Todd's report, it's pretty, simple, and, I don't claim to know the ins and outs of all the stuff that he does. But the big thing is that he's been working on the MOU and IFA, and there have been has been sent for signatures, and so MOU, IFA in the works. And then he's always very engaged and active with the job fairs for the month, and so like BCTC for the month of June, United Way of the Bluegrass, resource fair for Safe Kids, and then the BCTC healthcare camps. So his job is to be out and about, meeting all the right partners and shaking all the right hands so that he can make it happen in the first centers. But that wraps up our reports. Y'all have anything?
Just to update, the actual MOU and IFA was submitted by the date that it needed to be submitted, but he worked on it during the month of June and got it submitted, so it's all squared away.
Is it approved, agreed upon? or
Well, they
still-
ain't come
still-
back
still-
and said that, they ain't come back and said no, but they've had it for a while, so. Not to say that I won't get an email later today that they say, oh, change this,
Right.
but I don't think that there'll be any problem with it, because we did it the way they wanted it done. So, and the one thing too that, cause like for the month of July, there was 414 referrals. We watched our referrals go up and up and up. So, me, Kevin, Jennifer, Todd, all sat around just trying to figure out a way. So we have a position that is starting, it's an intake specialist, okay? Because what we've realized is that, and hop in, Jennifer, if I get any of it wrong, but it's the way that I hear it. Whenever people get on our referral list, they just check every box sometimes, right? So it takes the TDS time to sort through what do you really need. Now, we want, if anybody hits that referral link, we want them to be contacted within 72 hours. So if you have 400 people on your referral link and 7 TDSs, that's hard to do. So this intake person, and when she starts,
2 weeks from this past week, so in a couple weeks.
yeah, and that I understand, she has experience as outreach coordinator, you know what I mean, and things like that. But what she will do is focus on these referrals. And she'll be the first point of contact to figure out exactly what they need. And let's say it's someone who needs their GED and some career services. So she was gonna get the information to them to get them referred to adult ed to start getting their GED and things like that. So I'm hoping that makes a smoother process. Cause we did have a few clients that had gone on the referral list that just hadn't been contacted in what I feel should be a good time frame, right? So we're hoping that this will take care of that. If not, we will pivot and readjust and figure something else out, but we're gonna give this a go. Several years back, prior to COVID, we had, the same type of position, and it made everything a whole lot smoother for the TDSs and things like that.
So, and also Todd and I were talking, and then, so we had, he emailed Stacy and asked her to make some changes to the referral form. So they can only choose 3 things now instead of everything,
Yeah.
right? So it's up to 3, and then we added a box for, hey, so you select the training, tell us a little bit more about what you want. So that way, we're getting an idea of what the people want, but like she said, I would call some of the ones and they're like, oh, I just need a resume. And so we don't want to have to do their job, so, but there's things like that, so we're just trying to make sure we're getting better quality referrals.
I don't think some of these people really don't know what they want
Right. Right,
or need
right,
or
and
have
so,
access to.
so they'll come in, we'll bring them in, like, okay, so you need help deciding on a career, that's great, let's go, let's do this. All right,
Yeah.
we'll meet, but there are some people that, they come from other areas, also they live in other areas that we don't serve, and so we send them the information for their correct
Mhm.
career center and stuff, so, but it takes a while when you're having to call people to clear the list up. So,
I'm excited for that, to help
Yeah, I
process.
think that, yeah, I think I'm hoping it helps.
Open discussion for our guys out there, Micah. You got any cool things happening in your neck of the woods?
No, I do want to touch back on the Equus reporting. Being a resident of Estill County, I do appreciate that footprint that you guys are having here now. So thank you all for that.
I know that, Estill County, Powell County, that area, she's got some outreach. Tried to push my way at the last minute, and couldn't make it happen, so. It's good out there. Matt, do you wanna revisit something there that you kind of mentioned at the beginning, or did we revisit that while we were in the discussion?
No, I feel like we're in, I feel like we're in good shape. So, that'll be documented in the minutes and we're good. So yeah, nothing cooler than petting sloths, definitely. So, based on the earlier discussion.
Anyone else open discussion?
Everybody remembers September 10th is the, joint training. Yes. I'm very excited to hear Hassan Davis speak. We also will have, the governor's office reached out and asked if, Mr. Flynn could come and talk about the pre-K for all initiative. And then Commissioner Yoder will be there to give an update on what he thinks the future of workforce in Kentucky is gonna look like. So, and then as a side note, because I'll mention it too at the joint meeting, but Mr. Montgomery is chosen as our workforce champion. So, and then as our initiative champion, we did Aaron Tipton. So because, like Jennifer said, we said, hey, can we do this? And she's like, yeah. And on Matt, it is through your guidance that we have got things squared away with finances and stuff like that. So that is why you are our champion.
Absolutely, he deserves every prop we can get.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, I am honored. I don't, yeah, I really appreciate that. Although I give all the credit to the teams, but I appreciate the recognition.
Yes.
Look at it. I did last year. I mean, it's from the heart. Whenever I present your little thing, it's from the heart. So,
She had me cheered up, and then I'm supposed to speak.
yeah. Yeah, you'll be expected to say a few words too, man.
Okay, that's good to know. Definitely.
They said an emotional speech, Matt.
Yeah. I'm just gonna use acronyms. I'll be we owe this, and yeah, I'll use acronyms the whole time.
All right. With that, we'll see everybody in September, right? Well, actually, I think there's a finance meeting coming up before the end of the month, Matt.
Yep.
But,
Yes.
right, or at least better information as far as funding coming in.
Let's see here.
Okay, with that, we'll look for a motion to.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. I will second.